Hi, welcome back to Cooking with Chef Jeff. Today we're going to be making French toast. French toast as we know it got its start in ancient Rome. The Romans would take sliced bread, they would dunk it in egg, and then they would fry it in olive oil. And eventually that recipe spread all its way around the Roman Empire, up through Europe, and eventually made its way to the United States, where we enjoy it for breakfast and brunch quite regularly. Now, as far as the bread, there's a couple different ways we can go. In this country, traditionally, French toast is made with Texas toast. It's a thick sliced bread, it's got a high egg content, browns up nice. And most French toast that you get in restaurants is likely Texas toast based. When I was growing up, we would make it with just plain sandwich bread, which works fine too. But what we're going to do today is use sourdough. And what I've got here is a sourdough loaf that I got from the bakery at my local grocery store. And we're going to go ahead and slice that up right now into about inch to inch and a half thick slices, about the width of two of my fingers. So for that, I have a bread knife. And the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to nip the end off, set that aside, eat it later. And then at a little bit of an angle, because it makes the cuts look a little fancier and you get more surface area for the eggs, we're going to go ahead and just make our cuts. We're doing this now because we want the bread to dry out a little bit. Because French toast, at least in the modern sense, is a dish made from leftovers. You've got stale, day or two old bread that's starting to get a little on the crunchy side to just cut and eat or use it as a sandwich or something like that. But if you take that stale bread and you dunk it in an egg custard and fry it in butter, you end up getting something really awesome to eat. So what we're going to do is get this bread sliced first and then set it aside to dry out a little bit while we prepare the rest of our ingredients. So get nice little pieces like that. Now there's lots of ways you can top your French toast. You can use butter and syrup, traditional breakfasty type toppings. The custard we're going to dunk our bread in today is quite sweet all on its own, so what we're going to do today is we're going to go sliced and slightly sugared strawberries. So to do that, you got your strawberries and just a utility knife, nice and sharp as always. We're going to go to our cutting board, which has our damp paper towel on underneath of it so it doesn't slide around on you. And we're going to just, each of these strawberries, we're just going to nip off the green part. Okay? And that gives a nice flat bottom to put on the board so you're nice and stable. And I'm going to go from there, and again, keeping your thumb out of the way and using your fingers as a guide, you're just going to run your knife through to make little slices of strawberry. So I'm going to go ahead and get all these cut, and we'll be right back and we'll put some sugar on them. Just our strawberries. Off camera, I went ahead and threw about a tablespoon and a half or so of sugar over top of them. Now I'm just going to take a spoon and just lightly fold the sugar into the strawberries. Now this is going to do a couple different things. One, it's going to make the strawberries extra sweet and yummy. And two, as the sugar sits there and works on the strawberries, it's going to coax out some of that strawberry juice, which is going to make a really yummy syrup that's going to go along with the strawberries once we put them on the French toast. So now that that's all coated, we're going to set this aside and start building our sauce. Now the custard we're going to dip our bread in as two parts. It's got a sugar part and it's got an egg part. So we're going to start with the sugar part. So in this bowl I have the same kind of white sugar we put the strawberries on, and I've got my spice mix. I have cinnamon, I have cloves, and I have nutmeg. What we're going to do is we're going to put that into the sugar, and then just taking a fork or a spoon or whatever, start mixing that together. And the reason I do this step is cinnamon doesn't readily want to dissolve into liquids. If you just threw it into the egg mixture just straight as is, it would just turn to clumps and just kind of sit on the surface, kind of not doing anything. So by putting it in the sugar, we're suspending the cinnamon molecules out. So they're not as dense, and once we introduce it to the eggs, it will more readily dissolve. And you'll still have a little bit on the top, but it's not nearly as bad. So same principle if you're making gravy. You take your flour and you mix it into the butter to make a roux, because if you put straight flour in a hot stock, you get flour dumplings. Same idea. If we put straight cinnamon into our eggs, we would get cinnamon dumplings. Doing this avoids that. All right, now for the egg part. So we have some eggs here, and we're gonna go ahead and crack them into our bowl. Now, it's very photogenic, and it's very, traditional looking to crack your egg on the side of the dish. Just like a lot of people do on TV, you see, older people do it all the time, and then open your egg into the bowl. I discourage doing that because the sharp edge of the bowl will shear through the egg, and if you have any nasties on the outside of your egg, you can potentially put that into your egg. And also, it makes much smaller egg chunks, or eggshell pieces. So if you happen to get shells into your eggs doing it this way, it's gonna be harder to fish it out. A better way to crack eggs is to find a blunt surface, like your counter, hold it between your thumb, forefinger, and middle finger like that, and we're just gonna do a nice even hit on the side of the egg, like that. So what we've done there is we've shattered the egg rather than shear it. So then, put your thumbs in where you shatter it, where the shatter point is, and you're gonna just lever it away and break the egg into your bowl. So, looking here, you get a nice clean break, and you get large chunks of eggshell. So if you're accidentally to have something like that fall off into your eggs, it's easy to go in and fish it out. So I'm gonna go ahead and crack the rest of these eggs into our bowl, and then we'll add the rest of our ingredients. All right, we've got our eggs in the bowl. We're gonna take a whisk, and we're just gonna break them up, just lightly beat them just to start putting them together to make the rest of the steps easier. And once we've gotten about that far, everything's just kind of broken up and roughly incorporated, we're gonna add a little bit of vanilla, and we're gonna add some half and half. Now, you can use milk. I would encourage, whole milk or 2% milk if you wanna go milk, because you want the fat content. Because one, it helps keep it from burning, and two, it tastes better. The higher fat content, the better the flavor is. So we have half and half here. Heavy cream's a little much, I've used that before too, so we're gonna go here. And what you wanna do is roughly a tablespoon of half and half per egg. And so you can measure it out, or you can do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about like so. That down. We're gonna go ahead and whisk all of our wet ingredients together. Our liquid ingredients rather. Okay. And once that's all beaten together, we're gonna go ahead, while you're whisking, start sprinkling in your spiced sugar mix. Going fast enough to beat it in, but slow enough to not throw it all over the counter and yourself. So you got all that in. Go around the edge. Make sure everything is incorporated. Glass bowls are really nice. You can see underneath, and make sure you've got everything worked in. You don't have any pockets of sugar that avoided the whisk. Give it one last stir. Keep the whisk here because you're going to want to stir this periodically, because the cinnamon will separate a little bit anyway, because that's just what cinnamon does. And we're going to go ahead and go over to our stove and set up our build station. All right, now we're ready to cook. You could do this in a frying pan on your stove. In my case, because I have a large family, I like to use a griddle. So what we're going to do, we have our bread that's been sitting here drying, we have our custard, and we have some butter for greasing said griddle. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our whisk, we're going to stir our custard one more time, just to make sure everything's good and incorporated. And we're going to take some butter on a knife and start running it over our griddle. Turn my griddle temperature down a little bit. You want a nice upper end and medium. You want to brown stuff, but not burn things too fast. Okay. So we've got our butter melted on there. Now, we're going to take a couple pieces of bread. We're going to push them into our custard. Pull them out. Knock the excess off. You can use your whisk for this too, kind of drag some of the excess batter off. And we're going to lay it down into our butter. We're going to repeat that with the next piece. Get it in there, shake off the excess, and continue on until your griddle is full, or your frying pan. So while this cooks, why is this a family favorite, and why do we have such a good time with French toast? Well, it has to do with the sourdough bread and my sister-in-law. So we had gone away for a weekend. This is many, many years ago. all of us, you know, even before we were married, you know, my wife and I, before we were married, her sister and her boyfriend, who's now her husband, and my now mother-in-law, we went over to Central Oregon for a weekend. And I made breakfast one morning, and I made French toast, and went and got the sourdough bread and the whole bit. And she heard that we were having sourdough bread and declared that there was no way, no how. You know, she didn't like sourdough bread. She didn't want anything to do with it. She would try it, and probably that would be it. She's also not much of a morning person, so you know, you got to consider that too. So we made this, and a plate was taken upstairs to her where she was sleeping and passed over to her. And practically before whoever took the food to her got to the stairs to come back down, she was back to the door with the plate empty, asking for more. So take a lesson from my sister-in-law. Even if you don't think you like it, give it a shot, because sourdough bread is awesome. So this has been cooking here for a couple minutes, and what we're going to do is take our spatula, get under here, and just try to kind of take a look. So that's about the look we're going for. Nice and golden brown, kind of forming a little bit of a crust on the side, but still nice and soft on the inside. So what we're going to do is just flip them over in the same order that we put them down on. Just like so. And if you see they're starting to get a little too brown, then you can turn the heat down on your griddle. So you're just going to cook for another couple minutes, and then we'll go ahead and move on to the next round. All right, a couple minutes have passed. Let's take a look at our first piece. Get back under, take a peek. So it's set, not as browned, which makes sense because we don't have as much butter there anymore, but it is set. So we're going to go ahead and take these off and put them on a cookie sheet, because we want to keep these hot because we've developed a little bit of a texture. So we don't want to, you know, you could throw them in a crock pot or some other, you know, covered food warmer, but you risk losing the texture from the steam not being able to escape. So your solution around that is to put them on a cookie sheet, uncovered. Then you come over to your oven, which most ovens nowadays have a warm setting. So turn that on and just put them in your oven, and they'll sit there and stay nice and crispy while you finish up making your toast. So we just have a little bit left to go here. So we're going to get the rest of the French toast made, and then we'll plate it up and decorate it with our strawberries. All right, time to plate. So this is my 6-year-old daughter, Jasmine. Jasmine, say hi. All right, and she's going to help me plate up our French toast. So we have our cooked pieces, just a couple here, and you could just put them on a plate and call it good, but don't make it fancy. You're going to take your pieces, and you're going to cut them in half, and you're going to arrange them on the plate like so, kind of in a crisscross formation, just like that. Sometimes it wants to cooperate, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't want to cooperate, you can just do that, or you can shingle it. I think is how we're going to do it. It looks like that. So now Jasmine's going to help me out. We have our strawberries, which have sat in the sugar, and as you see, has started reaching out some of that yummy sweet awesomeness. And there you go. She's going to go ahead and top the French toast with the strawberries. I'm going to take the spoon. Put them all along the top of the toast. There you go. Now, we're going to finish it off with a light dusting of powdered sugar. And to do that, let's get some powdered sugar in a spoon and bring it over and just tap on the spoon. Bring it off like that. And once that's on, then you have your completed dish. You can just serve this up as is. We often like to pair it with bacon. It's our favorite thing to eat it with. But now that we've completed this French toast, Jasmine, what are you going to do with it?
Eat it.
All right, there you go. Well, that concludes our video on French toast. What do you think, kiddo?
It's the bestest food in the world.
All right, you heard it right here. So thank you very much for watching. The recipe is included in the description to the video. I do encourage you to try this at home. If you do try it at home, leave a comment, tell us how it went, send pictures. We always appreciate seeing that, and we'll catch you next time.